Messages for the Cosmic Collective, April 20th, 2020. For the week through April 28th. Divine Cosmic Messages. We'll take that. It's already coming out in the crowning energy. For the masculine, we've got the Four of Swords. For the in-between energy, we've got the Empress. And for the feminine energy, you can see we have the Page of Wands. Okay. So already, we can already see that there's really kind of a difference in energy here from the masculine perspective of the collective and the feminine perspective, but they are interjoined by that Empress energy, which we know is all about the birth and the creation of something. We just really see there's two perspectives towards the birthing and the creation that we're looking at here. Four of Swords is really all about that resting energy, where that Page of Wands is that fire energy, and we're looking at really that charge to move forward. So just kind of an opposing energy there. However, I like that what the energy that's common between the two is that Empress, that birthing energy, which lets me know that even though the approaches appear very different, essentially it's working towards fulfilling of what we're all kind of experiencing, the introduction of that divine feminine energy kind of back for us to begin interacting with again. What do we have here? Okay. Alright. I'm going to take these actually, and okay, you guys will notice that I do not read reversals, and we're just looking for one more card here. Nice, okay. So crowning our situation, like I said, here we've got the masculine energy, which is in that Four of Swords, resting, taking a minute, really thinking. Crowning what's happening overall in the collective between both energies. We have the Empress, we're in that really fertile, creative space or energy. And then for the feminine energy, as I mentioned before, we've got the Page of Wands. Okay, so that's kind of crowning what we have rooting our situation in the collective right now. For once again that feminine energy, we have the Ten of Cups, so strong focus on home and excuse me, the wishes that one has for their home and the experiences around their home. And interestingly enough, for that masculine energy here, we've got the Five of Pentacles, which is that feeling of more so being out in the cold. So two very different energies here that are kind of having to work within each other. So that was kind of bringing those two energies together here as we have the Three of Wands, which is the energy in between the masculine and the feminine, which kind of makes sense because of the feminine energy, as we see here, is feeling really kind of rooted right now in home and family. And the masculine energy is feeling really out in the cold here. It only makes sense for the overall energy between the two to kind of really just be waiting, watching. And that's that Three of Wands energy where we just see, you know, a man here holding his wand, kind of looking out, waiting. All right, and building on that for the feminine energy, we see Temperance, which I think is really, really good. It's just kind of letting me know that although the focus here in the root is family, it is being approached with a certain amount of that perspective is being weighed out with a certain amount of balance. Okay, so we do have the angel of balance here, Temperance here. And then for the masculine energy, kind of sitting in that, we have the Queen of Swords. So once again, almost two opposing energy being joined by the Ten of Pentacles. So that's where you can really just kind of see it. Once again, that different approach coming in. You've got the feminine energy really wanting to seek out that balance in how they approach their feelings around their home and their environment, just really kind of seeking out that higher understanding, that balance, where you really have the masculine energy sitting in that feeling of being left out in the cold. But with the Queen of Swords here on top of that, it really lets me know that they're taking a forward, a very truthful, to the point perspective. Okay, and we kind of have the situations where those two are connecting. It's at the Ten of Pentacles. Okay, so it's really letting me know that, you know, what we're looking at is probably a situation of being built on a situation that's being built on the home, and the feminine's feeling really focusing on the home and being fired up about that. And you know, you can see where the feminine energy is really comfortable. You've got a lot of positive cards, whereas the masculine energy of the collective is more so kind of feeling left out in the cold, maybe kind of feeling like there's something that they're missing. So that's definitely something to be mindful when you're dealing with that masculine energy, is that there is a void, and they're very truthful with that Queen of Swords energy there in their approach. They're just very kind of straightforward and truthful, but the spaces where the masculine and feminine energy in this, you know, where they're connecting is at the Ten of Pentacles. So it's still letting me know that even though there's some waiting, that even though, you know, they're focused, the point where they're connecting in this energy is in the basis of, you know, trying to create more financial stability, home stability. I'm feeling that the feminine energy is really powered up to do this, and not to say that the masculine energy isn't, but the approach that they're taking may just be a little bit more of a resting approach, thinking about it, really kind of overcoming some feelings of being left out in the cold prior to being able to move into action there. Okay, and then kind of in the middle here, we've got the Six of Pentacles. Okay, and then the Strength card. And I think what's interesting is the energy that's in between the masculine and feminine energy there is that Seven of Swords. So once again, you know, if we look at this full story, and I just kind of wanted to take it to you with the the buildup of this here, you know, we've got a masculine energy that really is kind of focused, meditating, and wanting to be honest about where they're at and what their position is, and seeking in that Six of Pentacles energy and an honest give and take that has that balance. So I can just really see an energy of reflecting on the things that are important, maybe that have caused these feelings of being left out in the cold, where you see the feminine energy, right? With that Page of Wands is really more so in an action-oriented state and focused on the Ten of Cups, you know, so that emotional happiness and that emotional safety and that family fulfillment, but really wanting to take a balanced approach in it. And with the Strength card here, so just really focusing on those that inner strength, that inner power, and what they're able to do. So really interesting. The card in between, I think, the Strength and the Six of Pentacles, and that Strength card for the feminine, it's that Seven of Swords, which I think makes sense. It really makes sense there. If you see this masculine energy is fighting down here, the feeling of kind of being left out in the cold here, right? And so some of that Seven of Swords, deceit, is what's standing in between, I think, these two. So even though the masculine and the feminine energies, which we've been seeing, has really done a great job of working together and in unison, we can definitely see here from the cards that although they're at a point of relating, there's still kind of some issues, or there's, and I think that's one thing we're always going to see in the masculine feminine energies within the collective, and what's going on is that we're going to see two really separate energies that are taking a very different approach towards accomplishing the same things, okay? And so where we're going to kind of find this card in the middle, right, is how these two are relating, or what point are they relating on. So, I mean, I think the crowning overall relative point that we have here being the Empress, which I think is really good, as I was saying initially, that is that divine feminine energy. I mean, I think that for that to be a focal point right now makes sense. I think the masculines are definitely going through an overall experience of getting in touch with and rebirthing and waking up, you know, kind of that feminine divine energy. So that Four of Swords makes sense, where they're just kind of in that period of resting about it, right? And where I think, I know for me, definitely as a divine feminine, I can say just that overall feeling of being passionate and ready to move forward, and still a page, so definitely in the infancy, but rearing and ready to go, I think kind of defines that feminine energy. So you know, just keep that in mind when you're dealing with that divine masculine energy. And I mean, even if this is within yourself and you're not dealing with a divine masculine or a divine feminine outside of yourself, but just the overall collective energy, I think it's so good for us to kind of be aware where those points in ourselves may be saying it's time to take a rest in the process of creating something, versus it's time to move forward, and really learning to balance the two. So we're seeing that a lot of those dynamics play out within the collective right now, as well as, you know, this focus on equal give and take, balanced with this very self-driven, what can I do for myself kind of energy, okay? Okay, thank you. Sorry for the short pause there. But yeah, so just really focusing on that play, that dynamic between the masculine and the feminine, and understanding that some of the places where these energies are having to, points they're having to interact in are trigger points oftentimes, right? When we see, I mean, especially when we've begun doing the work outside of ourselves, and now we're dealing with a divine masculine that's exterior, a divine feminine that's exterior. A lot of the points that we connect are triggers for us. So it's just really interesting to be aware of, you know, especially like when we see cards like the Seven of Swords, and we see two very, you know, we have kind of the Six of Pentacles opposed to that strength, right? So once again, in that masculine energy, it's that seeking of balance and putting effort more so into creating those physical balances, versus that feminine, which is really more so about that inner strength, that inner fire, relying upon it. So just always being aware that at the point of balancing these two energies, either within ourselves or within our relationships, they're typically a point of triggering, and we definitely see that here. Playing out as the Seven of Swords, knowing that there's been a lot of issues of trust, and knowing that both of these really, you know, in the feminine, it's more so developing that trust within self, and the masculine energy, it's really more so in those honest relationships, ones that balance, as opposed to ones that take from us and drain from us. So, you know, I mean, just as you're moving forward, and if this is a self journey, which for me, for the longest, it was a self journey, I know learning how to properly give to myself really took a lot of time and was a deep practice for me. So I just want to encourage anybody that's in that space for themselves to commit to self and do the work. And, you know, affirmations are so powerful during those times of just remembering you are worth it and you deserve it. So, and the same thing can be said in relationships with others as well, right? Because many of us, I think, who are definitely called into lines of service, we can overserve, right? So we can overgive and over be available, and essentially, you know, that leads to a lot of self-deception. Okay, so really kind of learning from all of that, and hopefully creating something new, something more balanced, which really seems to be a major focus in the masculine energy right now, is really being aware and looking for that equal give and take, okay? And in that feminine energy, just to kind of speak to that as well, that inner strength, that inner power, knowing that really anything you want outside of yourself starts within the self. So having the strength and the confidence to trust those inner urges and follow them. And of course, having the fire, Page of Wands, and passion to do that, okay? So I kind of, at this point, just want to pull a card, and this is from my Divine Circus deck, Smile Honest Fairchild, just to give us an overall, just a word of advice here for the Divine Feminine energy and the collective, and the Divine Masculine energy of the collective. So, what messages do you have for the Divine Masculine and for the Divine Feminine? Interesting. Clown of Crossroads is our oracle message for the Divine Masculine. I'm just going to go ahead and read that for us. So for those of you who are really focused kind of in your Divine Masculine energy right now, you know, this is going to be the message that you're going to want to pay attention to, or if you're tuned in or receiving messages for a Divine Masculine, whatever your point of reference is, this is kind of going to be the message that you would need to focus on. Okay, and here we've got the Clown of Crossroads. Okay. And I'm just going to read out of it. It says, opportunity is upon you. Though it may seem like a farewell to what you have known, this chance is a crossroad. A time when you can go left or right. You cannot continue with everything as it has been, and this means that something will have to be released for something else to be gained. It's time for you to take your chances and make a choice. The Clown of Crossroad card comes to you when you are at a choice point, a time for you to make a decision and realize that your life does not have to continue on as it has been anymore. You are at a pattern-breaking, life-changing moment, or soon will be. Of course, you can try to continue with the status quo, keeping things the same as they are now for as long as you can. However, in doing so, you will be saying no to the pathway opening up before you, leading to a different life ahead. In nature, all things must grow. What is suitable for one phase of development might be unduly contrasting or inadequately stimulating for the next phase of growth. Very good message. So the masculine energy, just to kind of recap that, is really in a space of being at a crossroads, ready to make some decisions. Okay, and all of the divine energy that comes along with that. Okay. So now we're going to go ahead and look at the oracle message here for the divine feminine energy in the collective, and we have Sweetheart. Okay. So I'm going to read the message from Sweetheart. Okay, very interesting. It says, you've known violence in your life, maybe on the outside, maybe on the inside, with a mind that has tortured you with fear, shame, darkness, and doubt. Enough of that now. It is time for a gentler way. Less pain, more gain. No more torture. It is your time for sweets and treats. There is so much violence in the world and in our own minds that we can assume this is just the way of the world, that we have to accept it, deal with it, and therefore forget we have the right to question it and even change it if we choose. Even the most ambitious desires for healing the world start with us as individuals. We cannot bring more peace to the world if there is violence in our hearts. Regrets, shaming judgments, fear of not being good enough, uncertainty, and constant pushing to become more. To do more, to have more, can become the energetic equivalent of beating ourselves up every day. This creates invisible bruises that never have time to heal because we don't give ourselves the sweetness, kindness, and compassion that we need to break free from the abusive cycle. So interesting that I think both of them are really recognizing the new cycle and going back to that crowning energy of the masculine, just being at the crossroad, recognizing that this is an opportunity, taking those moments to reflect and be honest with themselves about what they really, really kind of desire, which looks to be give and take. And that feminine energy definitely, as you can see, a little bit more fiery, a little bit more passionate moving forward. So the message is a little bit different here. Sweetheart, I think is really a reminder to the feminine energy of the beauty of moving forward and releasing some of the pain of the past. And that pain, although, you know, it lasted a long time, it had a purpose, but sometimes as much of that purpose of being there is learning to let go. Okay, so I think a really good message for all of us in this energy. So thank you. Thank you for tuning in. If you'd like to get in contact with me, the information is below the video. I will not be starting my extendeds this week. Just kind of wanted everyone to get a feel for my readings, hopefully connect with some of you guys. But make sure you like me on Facebook and follow me on Instagram. I will have some opportunities this week for folks to get some free readings. All right, thanks guys. Bye.